Back with Robert Klein. Here's Debbie on the toll-free Ottawa, Ontario. Hello there.
Hi, Robert. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Fine, thanks, Deb.
Listen, I'm just curious now. You've been in the entertainment business for a long time. I just wondered, what do you think of the influence of talk shows, and how has humor changed in our society?
That's a two-parter.
Yes.
If you're talking about the talk shows, that runs the gamut from upscale and low scale. To be honest with you, I think the ones that talk about syndromes and wife-beating and diseases probably serve a more useful purpose than quiz shows. Ones that exploit decadence and ignorance, it's a bit sad to see these, couples.
But does anything that happens on talk television, does it drive comedy at all? Now, for example, Debbie, I don't know if you saw Oprah Winfrey today, and I didn't, but somebody told me that she dropped her drawers today. Not in a lascivious way, but apparently there were rumors out that she was pregnant, and she admits to having put on some weight, so she just lowered them enough to show her stomach to show that she wasn't pregnant. Now, I'm sure that somebody somewhere will do a joke about this.
Gee, I don't know about that. I mean, some of these things are satire incarnate. They almost can't be exaggerated. As far as your other question, comedy changing, there's just a little lament about... I had occasion last June. I was in the New York Comedy Festival. I performed at Hunter College. And then they asked me to give this little preamble, a little talk, introducing a Lenny Bruce documentary. And I did my homework on, he was one of my influences. I never saw him in person, but boy, oh boy, his sacrifice in some intelligent use of profanity, it seems to me, was not well borne out. Today, I think the liberties that are taken with profanity and vulgarity are sad. I'm not for any kind of official censorship.
No, I understand that, and there's a point where a profane word or an expletive can be funny at the end of a story, but to make it the only word used in your comedy act requires little talent.
E.L. Doctorow, in my opinion, is the greatest American writer right now. He would use profanity if it was apt, and so should an adult performer if it's apt. But there is a kind of, also, I'm afraid, a kind of ignorance, a kind of lack of emphasis on erudition since I've been in the business. I really mean it. Knowledge seems to be less at a premium. Mediocrity seems to be a target. That informing and raising the level of things a little doesn't seem to be interest anyone.
Debbie, I'm glad you called. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, bye-bye now. Let me ask you here. You do a lot of college dates, right?
Not as many as I used to, but I'm a good choice for homecoming and
exactly.
parents' weekend, too. I satisfy everybody, you know.
But when you go there, what do you find to be the level of interest, for example, in the day's events amongst the college students today? About their own desire to acquire more knowledge, about their perception of education? How are they grounded in that way today? And how has it changed over the years with college students?
When I graduated from Alfred University in 1962, the recruiters from the greatest companies were all lined up, ready to grab everybody they could. You had a good college education. There was no lack of a job, and a good one at that. And what has happened is you can still probably do okay with a college degree, but you don't have nearly as good a chance as you did in the 60s and 50s with a high school degree. But the point of this is they're pressured to take more pragmatic subjects, learning for its own sake, and the arts, for example, or the humanities are de-emphasized, and business is everything. And so I think a narrower, events of the day, yes, if they're well publicized, but interests are narrower.
Speaking of your own college career, your undergraduate days, your mother and father yearned for you to be their son, the doctor.
Yes, and I thought that's what I wanted to be forever, and I went to Alfred, which was a wonderful small liberal arts college specializing in that, pre-med, and I wanted to be a doctor. A few things got in my way. Calculus, physics, biology, chemistry, organic chemistry,
those things,
reading, spelling, comprehension, attendance, behavior, inclination, aptitude, and talent. So I went in for history, political science, the proper preparation for comedy. Yeah. I became a very good student in the last 3 years in my history, political science, and then went to Yale for the drama school, and things worked out well for me. But when those two professors, Brown and Smith, their name was, I just honored their memories at Alfred. There was a theater dedicated to them. They told my father in my junior year, this kid is talented and really he ought to go into the theater and he ought to go to Yale. And my father, who was a practical sort, but, you know, Yale? To be an actor? Did Eddie Cantor go to Yale? You know. He had a good point. He had a good point.
And how did your mother and father react to this change in undergraduate direction? And the reason I ask this is, I, too, was a pre-med student the first year at Martha.
You were a seminarian, too, weren't you?
No.
Oh, no?
But all my life, you know, my uncle was, you know, Dr. Jim, lived in the big house on the corner and drove the Cadillac, and we lived in the rented place, and my dad drove the Oldsmobile. So since I was a kid, Tom, you want to be a doctor. And I went to pre-med for a year, and I dissected a frog and threw up, and I went to tell my dad, Dad, I can't do this. And he was very understanding. How was your pop and your mom?
My mother was always supportive of everything. She was a merry soul. She played stride piano, you know, with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. When I came home from school, she smoked once in a while when she played the piano. My father was really nervous. He was very nervous about it. He had a good job during the Depression, but was worried, and he had good reason to be. Acting was like being a Martian. My parents loved show business, but we didn't know anyone in the business. Mm-hmm. And that was a tough one. Actors were another sort. I think the thing that won him over was his eyes bulged out when he saw a couple of good checks coming in early on. And even at Carnegie Hall, I had a great triumph and a wonderful concert in '73, and the halls were still echoing with the cheers. And a guy said to my mother, oh, your son was just brilliant. She said, well, of course, if this doesn't work out, he can always go back to teaching. I had been a substitute teacher. So it was tough, and I understand that. And I always advise, people always ask me this vocational guidance, and I say do it. I think a lot of guys like Seinfeld and Billy Crystal and others, they saw in me, who preceded them by just a few years, you know, a guy like that. Yeah. Went to college. You can be, you don't have to be some a guy with cufflinks in a smoke-filled room, or you. Show business to me is a wonderful business. It has a sordid and cheap, perhaps, side, and it spends people quickly. Ephemeral stuff it's chewed up.
Well, it spends some people quickly, but those of quality. Well,
I've been around for 30 years. It's a wonderful living and a wonderful thing if you get. But it's more merit-oriented than most industries. It's not who you sleep with and who you know. If you make a reputation in this business, it's because people like you. Mm-hmm. They buy your product, or they tune in to see you. It's not because you slept with someone or you know someone. I think favors have less to do with this business. So, taking the old stereotype, W.C. Fields, an old-fashioned way, the old repertory company, actors still have difficulty getting credit cards. And our unions are filled with roles of people who never work, who work as cab drivers.
That's right.
It's as legitimate an industry, and I think everyone secretly wants to be in it. In fact, it gets far too much attention.
And most people who are not in it know how to run it far better than those of us who are in it.
Maybe.
Anyway, it's a joy to see you again. I'll be watching you on Saturday night, and have a happy holiday season. My best to your son. And don't be a stranger here.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
My great pleasure. Robert Klein on HBO on Saturday. Call Robert Klein. It all started here. And, of course, Sisters, the immensely popular series.
Which is not at the same time this week. I'm against myself.
So you'll compete against yourself. And
use your VCR.
Either way, you can't lose.
That's right.
Next, John Ehrlichman. We'll be right back after this break. Robert.